welcome to Elements of Ayurveda, Empowering Wisdom of Life. I'm your host, Colette, and in this podcast, I hope to empower you to take charge of your own health by sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. We will also discuss topics like health and wellness, nutrition, yoga, fitness, meditation, breath work, and much more, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to each other. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the show, and the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend you listen to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now, here's the show. Hello, and welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. It's a solo podcast with me, Colette, today, and I want to talk all about rejuvenation, or rasayana, as it's called in Ayurveda. And this is so important in Ayurveda that it's given a whole branch of study all to itself. Now, rasayana is the science of longevity. And the main purpose of rasayana therapy is to slow down aging, also to delay the degenerative process of the body and to prevent disease, while promoting health and well-being. So let's break down this Sanskrit word rasayana. Well, it's two words, rasa meaning juice or essence, and ayana, which means path. So rasayana translates to the path of essence. Now, rasa may sound familiar to you because my previous solo podcast, episode 48, was titled Rasa, the Juice of Life. And rasa is the water component of the body. It's mainly comprised of lymph, but it also is comprised of the serum and plasma. And the main function of lymph is to get rid of toxins and waste from our body, and so preventing illness. And we know that Ayurveda is all about prevention. So Ayurvedic rasayanas can be such things as special herbs or spices or foods, or you have lots of rasayana practices and therapies. And it could also be lifestyle practices like those healthy habits, those dinacharya we talk about. And we're going to go into detail on these a little later. But all these rejuvenative therapies support rasa, support the lymph by helping to nourish our rasa and improve the cells and tissues of the body. Now, the cells form our dhatus, and the dhatu is the Sanskrit word for tissues. And these are our body's energy reserves. They are constantly being broken down, repaired, and rejuvenated. However, when we are stressed or burnt out, or maybe eating too much processed food, or the wrong foods or drinks for our constitution, or living out of sync with nature, then our cells, and in turn our tissues, are affected. An imbalanced rasa, or lymph, in the body, which is the grossest tissue, or the tissue with the largest quantity in the body, can bring a lack of clarity, generalized body ache, early aging, pale skin, lethargy, anxiety, and these are just a few symptoms, but you can see it has a huge impact on our general well-being. If we ignore these symptoms, or if we cover them up with medication without addressing the root cause, then this imbalance could move further and deeper into the tissues, and that's when illness and disease would manifest. But rasayanas, these rejuvenative practices from Ayurveda, promote positive health and longevity. They boost our immunity, improve the functioning of our organs, and they rejuvenate the individual, keeping the early signs of aging at bay and restoring our health and well-being. So we want more of this, right? As I said earlier, Ayurvedic rasayanas can consist of tapas prescribed by an Ayurvedic practitioner, therapies, mindfulness practices, food, herbs, and certain lifestyle practices, also those dinacharya, those daily habits. And these rasayanas bring longevity on a cellular level and kindle the agni, the fire element in the body. And we know that the agni is responsible for the creation of new cells and the destruction of old ones. When our cells live longer, we live longer. And these cells build healthy tissues or dhatus, which give us strength, vitality, and a strong immune system, along with calming the nervous system and the mind. Rasayanas also promote a Sattvic outlook on life, bringing awareness and resiliency and confidence, feeling of contentment, happiness, and love. And with this Sattvic outlook comes awareness also of the spiritual aspects of life. And this is the overarching theme of Ayurveda, really, is to bring the individual into balance by helping them understand their unique constitution, and then doing regular cleansing and bringing the mind-body into balance so that that person is thriving, so they no longer are concerned with pains or aches or imbalances in the body. And therefore, we have more clarity of mind and more awareness of the bigger world around us because we're not so consumed with our own pain or distress. Now our eyes begin to open and we look around us and we see the world around us. And this is where we have the awareness of the spiritual aspects of life. This is where we start asking questions about how we are in the world or our purpose in the world and how we are in our communities and how we affect those people around us and what is serving us and what's not serving us. So this is part of the journey of Ayurveda, and rasayanas promote this Sattvic life, this Sattvic outlook on life. Ayurveda understood thousands of years ago that holistic rejuvenation is necessary as the mind, body, and soul are connected. For example, if our mind is not in a good place due to stress or unhappiness, then the body will release neurochemicals which will adversely affect our body. The same way if we're in physical pain. This has an adverse effect on our mind, so it may bring irritability or frustration or depression. Which means that we need to look at holistic rasayanas for the physical body, the mind, and the soul. So let's start first with the physical body. Physical rasayanas or rejuvenative therapies are really more effective when it's performed after a cleanse or when a body is truly in balance. And you know that in the Ayurvedic and the yogic lifestyle, regular cleansing is really important. And the cleanse will include oiling the body internally and externally with food and Abhyanga self-massage. And if you do an Ayurvedic panchakarma at a clinic, you'll receive further oil treatments like enemas, peri-chill, which is like a wonderful oil bath, and shirodhara, which is the pouring of oil across the forehead, across the third eye, which is very relaxing for the nervous system. But this oiling process, which is very important in Ayurveda, cleanses the body and mind and creates a stable foundation for the rasayana therapies. If we are out of balance, if we have anxiety or stress, or if we're eating the wrong foods, or if our lifestyle is not in tune with our circadian rhythms, and we try to bring in rasayana practices, that yes, they may help a little, but they won't have the same effect. It's really best to cleanse the body, bring your body and mind into balance, and then these rasayanas, these rejuvenative therapies, will really build a strong, stable foundation for you. Ayurvedic cleanses are nourishing to the body, and in fact, if a person is particularly depleted, they may be prescribed a more rejuvenative cleanse. It is best if the cleanse is tailored to each individual, as the protocol will be different for each person's needs. It's like in my online Ayurvedic cleanses, I do a 90-minute private consult with each person in advance so that I can tailor the food, the herbs, the spices, and also I guide them on which of my yoga videos to do and which meditation and which breathwork practices. So it's individualized and tailored to each person's needs and to their lifestyle as well, so that it won't cause stress, that we can fit it in with their life. What really sets Ayurvedic cleanses apart from other cleanses is that there's a period of rejuvenation built in post-elimination of the toxins. So after we eliminate the toxins from the body is left very depleted, and rejuvenation is necessary to build back up the Agni, the fire element in the body, so that we can digest our food and digest the thoughts and the emotions and have a strong foundation of cells and tissues. As I said, the rasayana used in cleansing are different for each person and tailored to each person's needs or requirements in respect of their dosha or current imbalance. However, foods like ghee, the clarified butter which we use in Ayurveda, dates and raisins create a rasayana effect. And of course we have many Ayurvedic herbs which are excellent for rejuvenation, some of which are triphala, ashwagandha, amalaki, guduchi, brahmi, shatavari, and chavanprash. Now, chavanprash is more of a jam than a herb. It's actually a traditional Ayurvedic herbal jam, and it's made with amalaki fruit, and it's really known for its rejuvenative and strengthening qualities. Of course, along with regular cleansing, it's important to follow the 80-20 lifestyle, which means 80% of the time we're eating balancing foods. We have daily self-care practices which rejuvenate the body and mind, and we prevent the buildup of toxins. I talk a lot about daily self-care practices and syncing them with the daily energy cycles in nature, and I go into detail in this in episode 8 of the podcast called Circadian Rhythms. And I also offer the Daily Habits for Holistic Health course on an ongoing basis. I'll put the link in the show notes if you're interested in checking that out. So in a private consult with an Ayurvedic expert, you'll get a tailored strategy for your foods, for your daily practices, and it will be, again, tailored to your lifestyle. And this is why I highly recommend having a private consult, because it will take away the guesswork and it will really zoom in on your individual situation. And this I provide online if you wish. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes and you can check that out if you're interested in going forward. I also offer a 20-minute free discovery call, which you can take advantage of and just book online. And if you have any questions or you need guidance, don't hesitate to book that, and I can offer you some tips and guidelines on that free discovery call also. So now let's talk about mental rasayanas or rejuvenative practices. Mental rejuvenation will aid in calming the mind and bringing awareness to the present moment with mindfulness techniques like meditation, pranayama, which is breath work, and yoga. Of course, making sure that the breath work and the yoga are not depleting, which can be a problem in today's do more to be more approach to life. Now, we often find heated yoga or power yoga or intense breath of fire practices are common. I think there's the general thought process that if we feel we're pushing harder, if we're sweating a little bit more, or if we're out of breath, that is a good sign we're working our body. And I definitely used to follow this pushing the body philosophy. However, I learned from my mistakes, and now I want to advise you not to fall into the same trap, because these intense practices are often too depleting for most people. Most of us are overworked and a little stressed in this multitasking society. So these would further deplete our body. Now, a person with a high kapha constitution or a kapha imbalance could usually benefit from these energetic practices, as it will bring heat and energy to the body, which is the opposite qualities to the kapha, cold, heavy, sluggish nature. So in that case, these opposite qualities, remember, like increases like, and opposites balance principle in Ayurveda, these opposite qualities would be balancing for a kapha person who's feeling lethargic, who's feeling sluggish. And they could benefit from this hot yoga, these intense breath practices. But for anyone with a high vata or pitta constitution, or if you're out of balance in either vata or pitta, these practices will deplete the body and have the opposite effect of a rasayana. Especially in today's world where our senses are overloaded daily and we're often mentally drained, we need practices that will slow our mind down, calm the nervous system, and for a little while block out the busyness of life. If we have mindfulness practices which are rejuvenating, then this will bring the mind to a more Sattvic place. And the Sattvic qualities of love and contentment and compassion will be evident. When we are in a more Sattvic state, we have more awareness of our thoughts and emotions. And we're better equipped to witness these thoughts or emotions as separate from ourselves, remaining detached, rather than allowing these thoughts or emotions to hijack our physical body and our emotions and take them on a roller coaster ride. And that can result in maybe raising our blood pressure, or it can cause mind spinning or anxiety or frustration, or can cause emotional eating, just to name a few. So we really want to maintain these Sattvic qualities. First, bring them into the body through cleansing and mindfulness practices, and then maintain them by keeping these mindfulness practices going. So examples of mindfulness practices that are rejuvenating are like a slow flow yoga class where you're really focused on form. It's not too intense. It's not competitive. Or a yin yoga or restorative yoga are great also. For sleeping in the evening, a yoga nidra meditation where it's a guided meditation that you can listen to while in bed, and it can be really relaxing and help lull you off to sleep, especially if you have that mind spinning at bedtime. We basically have to think of yoga as a calming activity to calm the body and mind rather than a workout. Now, some beneficial breathwork practices or pranayama are Shitali cooling breath. And this is where we're bringing cool air in across the tongue. And this is a really great practice if we're feeling angry or frustrated or have a resentment or there's excess heat in the body. Now, I do have a pranayama breathwork tutorial, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes, or you can find it over on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and it's under the events tab, and you'll find it in freebies. It will give you instructions on how to do that Shitali cooling breath. It will also show you how to do Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing, and this is great for balancing the body and the mind. And this is good if you're feeling ungrounded, or if you have anxiety, or again, if you have that mind spinning or feeling worried. The Nadi Shodhana is a great breath work to do just for a couple of minutes. It's amazing how the breath can have this huge effect on balancing the body, and it's such a simple tool to use. Another breath work that's great, and this one actually is for the kapha person. If you're feeling lethargic, is Brastrika or bellows breath. This is energizing, so not one for anyone with a high pitta or vata constitution, but if you're feeling foggy minded, if you're feeling sluggish or lethargic, this is a great one to do. And again, you can find all the instructions on how to do those in that pranayama tutorial. I will link in the show notes. Daily meditation really helps to bring awareness to what's consuming our thoughts, bringing our attention back to the present moment. What happens in our mind, it's amazing, right? We're either in the future thinking of things that could happen, and it's virtual stories. It's just our imagination taking us off on a ride. Or we could be in the past reliving things that happened in the past, or reliving things that happened yesterday. And that really doesn't serve us, because there's nothing we can do to change or control the past or the future. So it's really key to try be in the present moment. And we already know that, but these meditative practices and doing them daily can help trigger that reflex to bring our mind back to the present moment. And what I really recommend for this is a very simple meditation of counting your breath. Most of us find that we have a monkey mind when we do meditation. So what happens in a counting meditation is you basically count from 1 to 10. So you inhaling through your nose for a count of 1. And then you exhale through your nose for a count of 2. And then inhale for 3, and so on, all the way up to 10. Now, what will happen for most of us is that we'll get lost somewhere on that count from 1 to 10. We'll get caught up in a little story in our head, and then we'll forget to count. And then we'll come back to reality, into the present moment, and we'll realize, oops, I lost count. And then you have to start back at 1 again. And just by doing this process and seeing how many times you go off that count can really make you realize how busy your mind is. And also, like I said a moment ago, it could help you see what is consuming your thoughts. Is it worry? Is it anticipation of something? What is it that your mind is going to? Or is it something in the past? So this simple practice of counting breath is something I really encourage. And if you're brand new to meditation, try it for 3 minutes and see how you do. And let us know. In the Elements of Ayurveda podcast group on Facebook, the private group, let us know how you get on. The peace of mind to start your day with a meditation practice is just wonderful. It really creates a grounding foundation for your day rather than jumping out of bed and rushing. If you could set your alarm for, 5-10 minutes earlier and do some meditation, this can really help. And don't forget that in meditation, there's no clearing of the mind. So don't think that, I can't do meditation because I can't clear my mind. Meditation is really about making space between the thoughts. And with doing these practices, like this counting meditation, we can, first of all, see what's consuming our thoughts and then recognize the thoughts are coming in, acknowledging them and letting them go without attaching stories. So you're not going off in a virtual story. And with practice, it gets a little easier over time, but it definitely needs to be a daily practice. So again, try it out and let me know how you do on the Elements of Ayurveda podcast Facebook group. And I'll put a link in the show notes for that. Let's talk now about behavioural rasayana. We've talked about how regular cleansing can bring the body and mind into balance. And when we are in balance, we have more space for awareness to enter. And with this awareness comes a look at the bigger picture of things. We start to zoom out. We look at how our actions affect ourselves, our body, our mind, and also affect those around us, how our energy affects those around us. And there's a clarity of seeing what serves us and what doesn't serve us. And then there's a desire to start cleaning up our behavior, especially if we have negative behaviors of things like judgment or being overcritical of ourselves or of others. Maybe there is anger or partaking in gossip. These are just some samples of negative behavior that can really hold ourselves back from feeling rejuvenation in the body and mind, and also create a negative energy around us. So we want to bring in more behavior that will have a rasayana or rejuvenative effect. And those behaviors, of course, are more sattvic. And they're things like speaking the truth, keeping calm in our emotions, avoiding stimulants, being humble, being of service to others, and living a life that's not too demanding on our body and mind, really keeping it simple. Now, I want to go back there to being of service, and I think this is a really key one in our lives, because sometimes in this journey of self, that we can become almost too consumed with ourselves. And I don't think that's a good thing either. I think it's important for self-care and to take care of ourselves, but being too consumed on our own health and well-being can also cause stress, being over analytical and over judgmental. So being of service kind of takes us out of our own selves, and again, helping others and looking at the bigger picture. And when we are of service, there are so many benefits and healing, rejuvenative effects that come from that, because when we are in service, when we feel like we're helping others, it just sends all those feel-good hormones throughout our body, and those have such a great effect on our health and well-being. So it's good to think about, how can we be of more service in our families, in our communities? How can we help others? And we're going to gain from that behavior. We gain all these Sattvic qualities of being of service. We feel good. It's great for our health and well-being. We feel like we're doing something positive. And of course, the receiver feels good. So there's a great flow of energy. So think about how in your day can you be of more service? And it could be simple things like holding doors open. It could be helping elderly. It could be helping with charities. It could be smiling at others. How can you go throughout your day and spreading that joy and thinking more of your general energy and your surroundings rather than just being internal all the time. And also I want to talk a little bit more about simplicity, because this is key. We can lead very complicated lives nowadays, and I think having more simplicity in our lives is really important. And this starts within the home, because we can't really control our work environment or our commute. So how can you bring simplicity into your home? Can you purge your home of things that you don't really need, so it's more clear, and that helps bring more clarity to the mind? Can you create a more calming, relaxing home? Of course, unplugging is something I always recommend in the evening. How can you make your home really rejuvenative for you, so that you feel in the evening that you're feeling like you're in a calm space where you can recharge yourself and then be ready to go out the next day feeling good and feeling Sattvic. So we've talked a lot here about these Sattvic qualities, and of course, in order to bring these Sattvic qualities in, it is important to do the regular cleansing, and also to make sure that we're living in tune with the circadian rhythms. So important. If we're living out of sync with the circadian rhythms, we're not going to be in the flow of life, and things are always going to feel a little off. So making sure that you have that good foundation first. And I mentioned that in the previous episode in the Bhagavad Gita, it says establish self, perform action. So it's really important to establish yourself in a strong foundation, and at the start there is a little bit more focus on self, and there needs to be at the start of your healing journey, where you're really focused on understanding your mind-body type, understanding how to live in balance for your particular constitution, and how to live and how to eat and how to exercise and what your best lifestyle should be. And then once you have that down, once you understand that, then there's moving outwards, and then there's looking, okay, what about my behavior now, and what about my communities? But it has to start with self, and then you move out and you start living more in tune with the circadian rhythms. And once you have all that established, then you start going out into the world and making a difference. And now I want to move on to Rasayana for the soul, which is really about making that difference. So we've established self, and now we're performing action. Ayurveda recommends acquiring knowledge on a subject that's important to you, that you feel passionate about, and following that passion, becoming knowledgeable in that area so that you can share your knowledge and passion with others. And some examples of this would be, say you're passionate about gardening, and you learn about how to plant flowers and vegetables, and then you perhaps have an abundance of vegetables and you start giving some away to your neighbors, or maybe you sell your produce at a local farmer's market. That could be a way of following your passion and then sharing it with others. Or maybe you start teaching about gardening. It could also be that perhaps you're in childcare or raising your own children, but you're raising them with awareness so that they can then go out and bring that awareness out into the world. Or you're in customer service, perhaps helping customers find the answers to their questions. So you're so knowledgeable in your particular area of work that you can help people find the answers to their questions and help them on their way. But whatever you do daily, how are you bringing joy into that for yourself and for others? It's so important what we do daily, that it nourishes us. And even if it's a job that we're in right now and it's not exactly what we want to be doing, but it's paying the bills, well, how can you bring your best to that? How can you make it an enjoyable experience for you, so that you're feeling the rejuvenation from it rather than the drain? Because if we're in a job that we're just moaning and groaning about and we really don't like, it's going to have a really negative impact on our health. It's going to have a negative impact on our digestion. We know digestion is key. It's paramount for our overall health. It's going to have a knock-on effect throughout our body and mind. So if we're in that job, how do we shift our thinking to make it something that's going to be more rejuvenative? And rather than coming home at the end of the day and being totally drained, how can we make it so that it's a more positive experience? And of course, it all starts back with yourself first, bring yourself into balance so that you can start having more awareness and more clarity about, okay, how am I going to change this situation? If I'm going into work every day and just feeling, I don't want to be here, it's not going to be a good experience for you. It's going to be really unhealthy. So how can you shift that thinking, especially if it's a job that you just need to stay in right now? How can you shift that thinking to making it more of a pleasurable experience with your colleagues, with your clients, with your customers? So definitely food for thought there. And if you'd like some support on this journey, I can definitely help you. You can take advantage of that free 20-minute online discovery call I mentioned earlier, and you can find the link in the show notes or on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. That's elements with an S, A-N-D, wellbeing.com. And you can find also my other services there as well under the services tab. I hope this episode helps. I hope this information starts you thinking about how can you bring more rasayana, more rejuvenative practices and therapies and lifestyle practices into your everyday, just to make sure that you're keeping your body and mind in balance and that you're feeling good and you're exuding positivity out there into the world. So thank you so much for listening. Please come and join us over on the Facebook podcast group, the Elements of Ayurveda podcast group, and I'll put a link in the show notes to that. And also, if you wish to stay in touch and up to date on what's going on, please join my newsletter. You can join that on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and I'll also put a link in the show notes here. So thank you again for listening. Take good care of yourself. Think about how you can bring more rejuvenative practices into your day.